So welcome to our first salon of the season.
Yay!
Yay! Very exciting. We have a really full salon season. Every month has something booked. I think February we have one free slot for half a salon in February if anyone's interested. But I'm really excited. It's the first year that it's been so easy to fill the calendar, so that's awesome. This is our traditional first salon is the walkthrough of the faculty show. And we have 6 of us here today.
All the pieces here actually are done with encaustic, which we're having a workshop on right now from the person who taught me, Laura Moriarty. So it's kind of an interesting connection where she's here now teaching our students. But encaustic painting is painting with wax, beeswax, and pigment. And it's combined in a mixture with some varnish, so it's hardened, and it hardens over time. But it can always be remelted, and one of the things I love about it is that it's it's a very seductive medium. It's kind of satiny, but it can be polished, and it also kind of creates a lot of depth. It's a kind of take on my idea of New Orleans and the beauty of New Orleans, but then how it sort of is chaotic, and the vines grow everywhere, and they cover everything.
It's a personal piece about. And it kind of relates to the title about people who were left during the process of evacuating for Katrina. This particular piece is about my uncle who was left, and the interesting thing about it, he was left in a nursing home, basically a rehabilitation type of nursing home in Gentilly, and the nurses had evacuated some kind of way. And basically the audio that is really, really quiet. You have to kind of almost listen. It's almost like listening to a heartbeat or listening to somebody who speaks really softly. But the audio is about his story about how he was on the 2nd story of this nursing home for 2 weeks without food and water. And he survived it. He was taken out by Black Hawk, a helicopter. But it's basically about that, and this is just kind of more of I guess, my way of reminding us of a human nature type of thing, about how people will do things that they wouldn't do, or do things that you wouldn't expect them to do in a time of complete catastrophe.
I guess you'll be able to see more of the images in detail in December, because I'm going to do a salon talk about the series in particular. But in the meantime, y'all are welcome to go check out the site and see these large banners that are created from the photographs that I made in, I guess, last year, that are reproduced. I don't have a sample of the banners except to just tell you they're like 8 foot long, 8 foot tall and 7 feet wide pieces, based on these images. They were produced, it took me forever to do this piece. I mean, it was very exciting, but I just finished it. And I was using technology I've never really, I've used Photoshop, but I've never printed that large. And I was working with a fabricator, so there was a lot of translation that we both had to get through to get the images to look just right. It's a type of banner that has holes in it, so the wind can go through the images. And basically it took months to even figure out the strapping, how to make it vandal-proof as much as possible within our reason, within our means, basically. We used a lot of marine implements, these type of stainless steel pieces and parts and swivels and all these things. I learned more about tamper-proof screws and so forth for this object that I've ever wanted to know about. But I guess it's been a real amazing learning curve, and I've watched how this site that was really not being used.
Oh, it's kind of the only Katrina piece I've ever made and ever will make. Because I just said I didn't want to do that. I was in denial. I didn't take any pictures of any destruction. I just couldn't, because I was so, I couldn't look at it, and my way of dealing with things was to pretend it didn't happen. So, but this was when we went to that Milne Boys Home. there was a room that had this gorgeous, gorgeous texture on the walls, and it just reminded me of all the textural stuff that I really love, the natural textures. So I have that at the top. And then I also use a lot of surgical implements in my work with dealing with kind of a way of how we surgically can deal with traumatic events, through our not charged.
My work for the past couple of years has been working with me, my family, brother, sister, mother, father. And it started when a couple of years ago my stepdad died, and I think a lot of people go through that. They do the work about their father dying. So I did that, and then I stayed with the family, worked for a while. And a couple years ago, I decided to see my real dad. I had never, I'd seen my real dad probably twice in 30 years, so I decided to go visit him on Christmas. So he lives in Millinocket, Maine. It's a town, not a city. Population of 5,200. It's dominated by a mill. It's in the middle of Maine, as you can imagine, a lot of woods. So the town was built based upon the mill. And so when I was there, I couldn't figure out how. I have not worked on how to work my father in the pictures yet, or if I really want to, but the town. So I went there and I wanted to photograph this scene. When I started up with my mom, we both went up, and I was just like, this is the mill. This is like the center of town, like the reason the town exists. So I photographed this. It's about 14 photographs I took and put the stitch together in Photoshop. For a long time, I didn't know what to do with it. I had it for years sitting in the computer on the desk, and then I started working with a tree of bags first, and I was just fascinated by the detail. I get wrapped up in a lot of little tiny things, so I really enjoyed that. And then that sat with me for a while, and then I decided to finish the whole piece. So what I did was, this is a different piece, different process than I usually do. I actually painted the scene as well. So I put paper and I painted it, and then I drew it, and then I drew it again, and then I scanned in the painting, and I scanned in the drawings, and then I used photographs, and I used Painter, which is an application in the computer, plus Photoshop, and I merged them all together into one image. So that's what this is.
This is kind of like a structure I had in this performance that's a flying couch. It's a little different than that, but it's this idea of kind of these kind of couch potato warriors, people who watch the events of the world on television, and watch just news junkies, and watch and how basically how our military establishment has kind of catered the way they present the war for those kind of people. They're coming up with high-tech videos. Like, they don't need them to be that high-tech for themselves, but they need it to put on the news so you can watch and really see how precision, how great their weapons are. And they're trying to make making news more like a video game that you watch. So I was just kind of interested in these people just like watching war from their couch. So that was kind of about that. I did 3 of these. There's one with just a chair, one with a bed, but they're all the same kind of ideas. And they all have these missiles on the bottom, which are cast bronze.